What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? It's Daniel, and welcome back to another video. Today, I'm going to be doing my 2020 NASCAR Cup Series playoff predictions here on the channel. Let's go ahead and just jump straight into it. So, this is just my opinion of who I think is going to make it through each of the rounds, the round of 16, the round of 12, the round of 8, the championship 4, and I also am going to tell you who I think is going to be your 2020 NASCAR Cup Series champion. Anyway, let's go ahead and get into it. So, who are the first 4 people do I think that are going to be eliminated from the playoffs? The first 4, I think, are going to be Cole Custer, William Byron, Matt DiMarco, and Austin Dillon. Cole Custer, really, other than a couple of runs that he's had this year, Cole Custer's season has not been really spectacular, and honestly, I do not agree with him getting the Rookie of the Year. I don't think because you make the playoffs based off a win, you shouldn't automatically get the Rookie of the Year. I think Tyler Reddick has been a more impressive rookie than Cole Custer this year, but I digress. But Cole Custer, I just don't think he's going to have the speed to contend in the playoffs this year. I think he's about a 15th or 20th place driver. He really, I thought, was going to do a little bit better this year because he was really good in the Xfinity Series last year. I don't think Cole Custer is going to do very well. I think he's the first one to go in the round of 16. Up next, William Byron. I've seen a lot of people say that William Byron is going to make it to the round of 12 or farther on, and I actually completely disagree. Yes, William Byron does have some playoff points and a lot of playoff points for himself. You know, he won the last race at Daytona and Dover. But really, other than those runs and maybe 1 or 2 other runs, William Byron has kind of had a disappointing 2020 year. He really just, I haven't seen much from William Byron this year for me to think like he's going to be a contender at all in these playoffs. Yes, I think that the playoff points are going to help him, but I don't think that is going to help him enough to make it to the next round of the playoffs. Up next, Matt DiMarco. Matt DiMarco has kind of had a disappointing 2020 this year. I thought he was going to contend in a lot more races this year. I know a lot of people are also saying that Matt DiMarco is not going to make it past. Well, actually, Matt DiMarco is going to make it at least to the round of 12 and get eliminated there. Matt DiMarco, like I said, he's been very disappointing this year. I thought he was going to go out and contend for the win at Bristol. He really hasn't done that. I thought he was going to run much better at the road course race at Daytona. He didn't do great there. At a lot of tracks where I thought the Benedetto was going to be running a lot better, he really hasn't been doing that. On top of that, the Benedetto has really been struggling here in 2020. Personally, I would see a lot more out of Matt DiMarco this year, and I just haven't seen what I thought Matt DiMarco was going to do. But it's really awesome seeing Matt DiMarco get it plus. Trust me, I would like to see the Benedetto make it farther, but I just don't see, especially with how bad his momentum has been recently, how much he's been struggling. I don't see Matt DiMarco making it past the round of 16. And the final driver who I do not think is going to make it past the round of 16, like I mentioned, is Austin Dillon. Austin Dillon really he's been impressing me this year in a sense, because originally I had him going into the round of 12, but to be honest with you, he's had a couple really bad runs recently, and yes, definitely the RCR cars have improved himself, but I don't think Austin Dillon is going to have the speed capable to make it to the round of 12. Yes, he also does have quite a few playoff points to help himself, and there are tracks coming up that I think he could possibly be strong at, but I do not think Austin Dillon is going to make it past the round of 16 here in the playoffs. Now, we get into the round of 12 drivers. So, here are the 4 drivers that unfortunately will not make it past the round of 12. We will have Alex Bowman, Kurt and Kyle Busch, and Clint Bowyer will not make it past the round of 12 in the playoffs. The first one we're going to start off with is Alex Bowman. Here's why Alex Bowman's not going to make it past the round of 12. Alex Bowman, ever since he got into the wall of Charlotte, has really fallen off a cliff. At the beginning of this year, it looked like he was going to be a contender to possibly make the round of 4 this year, but ever since, that Alex Bowman just hit that outside wall of Charlotte in the second race that they had at Charlotte, he has just really fallen off like a cliff, and I thought Alex Bowman was going to be a lot better. He did have a great run at Dover, and he had a pretty good run at Daytona, so maybe there is some momentum building in for him there, and he does have quite a few playoff points that definitely can help him, but other than that, I just don't see him making it past the round of 12. They need to find a lot more momentum. It needs to be contending for wins a lot more, and really ever since we got, to the second half of the year, I haven't seen it from Alex Bowman where I think he is going to make it to the round of 8. Up next, Kurt Busch. Kurt Busch has had a pretty quiet year. He really hasn't had a lot of playoff points. In fact, as a matter of fact, he only has one playoff point currently at the moment. But he's picked up a lot of top fives and top tens this year. He's been pretty consistent, except the last two races. The last two races are really his first two DNFs since the Daytona 500. That consistency has really shown for Kurt Busch this year. I just don't think he has the speed to make it to the round of 8. I think he has speed to make it past the round of 16, but I don't think he has speed to make it to the round of 8. I think he gets to the round of 12 and probably will be the first one eliminated. And Vegas is a track, especially where Kurt Busch always seems to struggle at and have a lot of bad runs, and his bad luck there has been ridiculous. I think Kurt Busch, unfortunately, will not make it past the round of 12 this year. Up next, Kyle Busch. If you told me that Kyle Busch was going to struggle this much this year in 2020, I would have laughed at you. This year for Kyle Busch has just been horrendous. One of the worst seasons he's ever had. I think them not having any practice or qualifying has really affected Kyle Busch, but it just seems like when Kyle Busch has issues, it just compounds toward him, and he just really, really struggles. He does have a playoff point, and he does have speed. That's why I don't think he's going to get eliminated in the round of 16. And maybe he'll be able to get a win to help him get past the round of 12. But in my honest opinion, they've not had winning speed this year. Bristol's a good track for him, so I think I could help him get to the round of 16 to help him get some of those playoff points back that he has lost. But really, other than that, Kyle Busch's year has just been, he's just had a bad year, guys. It's really been bad. I mean, I thought he was going to do a lot better. If I'm not mistaken, I think I picked him to win the championship this year. And I guess I shouldn't have picked him to win the championship because Kyle Busch has just been, he's been so bad this year. I thought he was going to run a lot better than he has. It is a shame. Maybe Kyle Busch secures it. I don't know. We'll see. But I don't think Kyle Busch makes it past the round of 12. And the final driver that I don't think is going to make it past the round of 12, I mentioned him a second ago, Clint Bowyer. Clint Bowyer has been really quiet this year. He's had a few really strong runs, but other than that, I have not seen anything from Clint Bowyer that just makes me say, hey, he's going to be a contender for this championship. But Bristol's a good track for Clint Bowyer. He's been really good there. He's good at some of these other tracks we have in the round of 16 and round of 12. And Darlington, the last time he ran there, he had the dominant car, so he could have a really strong run at Darlington. I think he will run well there. He was running up front a lot of that race until he had issues. But hopefully he can start rebounding. He had a pretty good run at Dover, the first Dover race, and that really secured him a spot in the playoffs. I think Clint Bowyer will make it to the round of 12, but unfortunately he will get eliminated after the round of 12. Clint Bowyer, I think, unfortunately, is eliminated after the round of 12. And now we get into the 4 drivers in a round of 8. Anybody of these last 8 drivers could actually end up being your final 4. So, who are the 4 drivers who are going to be eliminated in the round of 8? Joey Logano, Ryan Blaney, Aric Almirola, and Martin Truex Jr. Joey Logano at the beginning of this year looked like he was going to be the guy to beat this year. Logano was just so strong at the beginning of this year. You guys remember how strong Logano was? He got 2 wins earlier in the year. But really, other than the 2 wins, he just hasn't shown me like the championship contending speed that we saw at the beginning of this year. He's come back from the pandemic, and honestly, he's had a few really strong runs. I mean, Michigan was pretty good for him, if I'm not mistaken. He was up front at Dover, got a second-place finish here. Maybe he can build some momentum to help him get to the championship 4. I think Logano will get a victory in one of these races in the playoffs, maybe early in the year, but I don't think that Joey Logano is going to have the championship caliber speed to make the round of championship 4 at Phoenix. He does have some good tracks. Phoenix is a pretty decent track for Logano. I just don't know if he's going to be able to do it, make it past the round of 8. Next driver I mentioned, Ryan Blaney. Ryan Blaney's been interesting to me. A lot of the season, he's been really up front and contending for wins this year. I mean, he's been showing a lot of speed this year. I think he should have a lot more wins than he does have this year. I mean, he should probably have at least 5 or 6 wins in the winners column for this year. But honestly, Ryan Blaney, he's just, anytime it seems like he's going to win these races, things go wrong for him. And I feel like that, unfortunately, is going to happen for Ryan Blaney in the playoffs. I do not think Ryan Blaney is going to make championship 4. He does have a lot of speed, which can help him. You know, Texas is a really strong track for him, so he could honestly possibly secure it. but I don't think he's going to make the championship for his bad. He just seems to have a lot of just bad things happen to him and catches a lot of bad breaks. I think Ryan Blaney will not make it past the round of 8 this year, which is a great shame because I like to see him make the Final Four, but unfortunately, I don't think he makes it to the Final Four. Up next, Erik Guster. Erik Guster has honestly had a really quiet but great year. He's had a lot of strong runs this year. I guess it's that Smithville sponsorship, I guess. Last couple weeks, he's kind of been a little bit quieter. He's been falling kind of under the rocks and kind of been falling a little bit back in the field. But I think Erik Guster is going to honestly have a surprising run at the playoffs. I think he's actually going to catch 1 or 2 wins maybe in the playoffs this year. Early in the playoffs, of course, Richmond's a really strong track for him. I think he has a really good shot to go and win there early in the playoffs. I think he's got a really good shot to go out there and win there. I think Erik Guster could be a surprise threat for the championship, but I do not see him, unfortunately, making it past the round of 8 as well. And finally, Mark Truex Jr. Mark Truex Jr., I think, is a very interesting case as well. He's been having a really, really strong streak of top 4 or 5 finishes. I think his worst finish last 9 races is 4th. So he has a lot of momentum going into these playoffs. And Richmond, like Erik Guster, is a track where I think he could pick up a win. I think he's starting to get it together with James Small this year. And I think there is a very, very good possibility that Mark Truex Jr. can make the Final Four. But if I'm going to be honest with you guys, I think the 4 guys in front of him are going to be your Final Four. Mark Truex Jr., unfortunately, I think he's going to be the first guy out, though. I think he's going to be the one guy that could break through and mess up my championship or just because of how consistent he's been. And you're going to have to be really consistent. I think it's now points matter a lot more than when winning matters a lot more. But points are going to matter a lot more now. And I think Mark Truex Jr.'s consistency is really going to help him. And he does have a lot of playoff points to his credit, a lot of stage points. So I think that could really help him here in the playoffs. And now we get to the championship 4. I think you know who the championship 4 are. Kevin Harvick, Denny Hamlin, Brad Keselowski, and Chase Elliott are going to be your Final 4 this year. In all honesty, I think this year really is between Kevin Harvick and Denny Hamlin. I don't really have to say much about Kevin Harvick and Denny Hamlin. Those two have just been killing it this year. They've been the 2 best drivers overall. I think they combined have 13 wins to their detriment of the field. They've been so strong this year. Both drivers are pretty good at Phoenix International Speedway. But Brad Keselowski has had a really strong and quiet year. I think he could surprise a lot of people and go out there and contend. But man, just back on Denny Hamlin and Kevin Harvick. Kevin Harvick first, we'll talk about him a little bit. Kevin Harvick, pretty much the dominator. This is his strength. He's been really good here. Denny Hamlin won here 2 times ago. I think he has a really good shot at winning here. Brad Keselowski's good on the mile tracks. There's a good shot there. And then finally, Chase Elliott. Chase Elliott, I think, is an interesting case in a sense because Chase Elliott is a very, very, very awesome driver, one of the best in this field. And I feel really confident that we could see Chase Elliott, be a contender in this playoffs in the Final Four as well. So now we get into the champion. Who do I think is going to be the champion for 2020? Your 2020 NASCAR champion is going to be Kevin Harvick. You heard that right. Kevin Harvick, I think, is going to win the championship this year. While Denny Hamlin, I think, is really, really close behind Kevin Harvick this year, I don't trust Denny Hamlin. Anytime seems like he seems like he cannot really clutch. He has a hard time clutching. You look back at 2010, 2019, which really wasn't his fault. I think Denny Hamlin, unfortunately, will not win. Brad Keselowski, I think Harvick's just been better than Brad Keselowski overall. And Chase, I think, actually will be more of a contender at Phoenix. If he makes the Final Four, he will be a contender at Phoenix more than Denny Hamlin is. Yes, Hamlin did win there, but Chase Elliott really should have won Phoenix last year. I think Kevin Harvick, though, is going to win your 2020 NASCAR playoffs. So, anyway, those are my 2020 NASCAR playoff predictions. Anyway, I want to thank you guys for watching today's video. Please like and subscribe to the channel, turn notifications on so you can be notified when a video does go live on my channel. Follow me on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Link in the description below for that. And comment below your thoughts on today's playoff predictions. Do you think I'm crazy for my playoff predictions or not? What did I get wrong or what did I get right? Let me know in the comments below. Anyway, like I said, I want to thank you guys for watching today's video. And I will see you guys next time. Take care, everybody.